other stuff, I don't care.
General plan language attached.
I'm with you.
I live in a HOA, we don't already plan, nothing's gonna change. As long as
Thank
Daryl
you.
doesn't let
Do you need
businesses come
assistance?
in
Heck
with
no.
I'm about to file a complaint against the HOA.
Actually, I have this one
Aren't
attached.
you the president?
Do you have it attached?
Not anymore, I'm not.
I thought you were talking about
Who's your president now?
Jason Nance. The guy comes in and put one of those prefab sheds
No,
right
that's not, I don't
behind
have
the
that.
house almost.
I get on mine now.
And we've got our CCNR say,
Yeah.
nah.
You know what, the guy
Look.
across the street from me put one with the metal roof.
I spent $5 on mine so it looked like my house. I don't expect anybody to put one in that doesn't, so.
No, we gotta get ours painted to look like our house.
My neighbor, he got
Sticks
the
out.
HOA to approve him. It's
I'm gonna
a 12
raise
by
hell.
24.
Phew, we have a
I'm gonna
quorum.
raise some hell about it too.
Thanks, Mike.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, I thought you wanted me to have a shower
Paintball.
before I got here anyhow.
Could we tell the difference?
You would have.
Mayor, Pat McKee.
Mary, you want a cup of coffee?
Okay, Pat McKee will not
I
make
don't
it.
know about Mr. Wojcik or,
Or Mr. Turner. No sweat, we got a couple of minutes,
You want
yeah.
a cup of coffee? Anybody?
Yeah, if you would.
Anybody else?
My water, that's good.
You got water, okay.
Coffee.
Running around, we're busy and we're enjoying life. So what do you got for me?
Oh, lots of stuff.
This is more vision than what I've already read?
There's just more stuff to read.
Hey, how come you responded to her about 2 minutes?
It's gonna cost me money. Look up, I get $11 savings. According to what this says.
That'll make you do backflips. Linda, I'm planning on, when we get to page 6, doing the Wendy Plaza deal, okay?
Okay, but wait, I need to tell you what I found.
did he yell at you guys?
Are you coming to the meeting, sir?
She will low enough to keep
Okay.
No.
All right.
By just your presence there, I don't have to look at your.
What you found?
Ron's not coming.
Okay.
I went back and listened to it, and what it says is that, it actually says.
I didn't know what to say.
In that 1.2 million, with 1.1
You didn't know
million,
what to
which is
say,
not
Ron, come on.
now
I didn't know
1.2
what to say.
million,
Right.
is that they plan on bringing it from the west side to the east.
No.
And stopping there, and then it'll be an easy
Yeah, an
improvement
easy
project to
improvement.
go
Right,
from there, so it's going from the east side, yeah,
Yeah,
that'll be
yeah.
good.
Are you gonna
Cool.
take the
Because I
mayor, I
think
hope?
since we put the other
I
in, we have to put
asked
that in.
them
Yeah,
some more
yeah.
questions.
Yeah, I found it at minute 58, so, yeah, cool. Now we've got, yeah,
He's a
yeah.
social butterfly.
But that's cool. He said it'd be an easy improvement project, so.
Yeah, so, but it did say they planned on having.
Yeah, yeah, okay. We've got no Dawn and we've got no Pat, okay.
Don just told me that. So
All
I said,
right,
okay.
cool.
I was just gonna meet with Lon, he
Hang
said he has a
tight.
6 o'clock meeting, so he knows about it.
Oh, Lon?
Yeah, Lon knows about it. I talked to Robert, we're on the same page, what I said to
Okay,
you is
cool.
exactly correct.
Okay.
At first, he was concerned how we have included the accounting for it within the WIFA stuff.
Right.
And I explained to him, it's actually in the contingencies, and we have ample amounts, even with this money, 300,000 for water.
Right.
So there's over 460,000 for contingency, so just ask the question, and we're all on the same page.
Okay, yeah, I had contacted Ron because I had some questions about the Will Hoyt Water Company. Well, Will Hoyt's down there at the pond fund, and I said, is that gonna punch a hole in our tie-in down at the Windy Plaza? And he said, no, the piping down at Windy Plaza is City of Craftsville. He said the Will Hoyt is just separate.
This is what we tried to find out. Jacob Press is on.
Yeah, we are.
And I'd be very surprised if he didn't.
Oh, yeah. He's gonna fly.
That's my understanding.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to be a bag like it.
Huh. Oh, okay.
Just so you know, if you're planning a big presentation like this.
No, I'm mainly want to listen. We need to find out what he needs from us so that we can know.
I think that he
And to be honest with you, if it's pre-printed material, they're always going to
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah. Good.
The letters.
All right. Yeah, okay, cool.
All right, I'll go school.
Yeah, yeah, he's probably,
Play by ear and see what he says.
no. No, I'll just, I'm mainly there to hear what he wants from us in order to do business, so.
I'm just scared we don't say on the line.
You're still going to pay something.
Pardon me?
Because I'm not able to see him, because I don't want him to say that. Someone told me.
You just will have a Cadillac full of people who go to the store.
Okay.
Ed's waiting to hear from you.
And toys, yeah. I know, I've been putting it off.
I saw him today. I gave him about 30 letters.
I'll be good for some stuff soon. I need to get through August.
Well, I'm gone the first 3 weeks in August, so when I come back, you ought to be ready.
Okay.
Okay.
I had lunch with the mayor of Freshly Valley.
Okay.
Did you ever ask him how he got involved in town council?
Yeah, seemed like he had gotten mad at the chief of police, I think that was
His bad
his.
cop.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, he kept signing his stuff.
Mm-hmm,
And he went over and signed the public records request,
Yeah.
just read everything.
Hello.
Hello.
mm-hmm, yeah.
And I couldn't find it.
That's my favorite line.
We got a full age. Oh, he's the only one.
Yeah,
He resigned.
yeah.
And then he left and
Yeah, yeah. He's a neat guy. I like old. Hey, good evening.
I knew you were talking about me.
Left and come
No
back.
fear of that. No fear of that.
I'm in the middle of this. So
Yeah. All right, we got a quorum. Let's light the fuse on this, okay?
Let's put on
Everybody's microphones on?
on.
Okay. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. May we have the roll call?
Sure. Councilmember Lon Turner,
I'm here.
Councilmember Best,
Here.
Councilmember Linda Hatch,
Here.
Vice Mayor Darrell Croft.
Here.
And Mayor Marley.
Here. All right, consideration and possible action to review and discuss the language in the publicity pamphlet related to the general obligation bond for authorization by voters at the November 2014 election. Robert Smith, Town Manager. We had this particular packet in our mailboxes, and then this evening, all of a sudden we get this. Can you tell us what the substantial differences are?
Yes, sir. I've highlighted them in the document that was handed out to you. I believe that the document that was handed to you has some minor changes in it that were looked at by Mr. Cafiso's crowd. And comments were provided back to me earlier this week. We were not able to get that in the packet that was sent to you as part of this meeting, because we had to produce that packet before this work actually occurred. So the handout in front of you, and I've highlighted the things that have been changed
Okay.
to call your attention to it. And if council is interested, we could go page by page. There's not that many changes in here.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I was intending to go page by page through the one that I'd already vandalized, the one that had been in our mailbox. And so if it suits the council, what we'll do is we'll go through page by page in the one that was in our mailboxes, and we'll compare it to the new one, and should be able to make some progress tonight.
Yeah, I apologize for the complication, but there were some last-minute suggestions made by professionals to me for inclusion in the pamphlet, and we wanted you to have the ability to look at that as well.
You bet. Oh, we want it right, but like I said, if I've got one in my mailbox and I go through and I get it all vandalized, I don't like catching the curve at this late in the game. Okay, Cool. Oh, before we begin, in the pamphlet that was in our mailboxes, the one that was handed out tonight, page 1 says, third line down says, questions unanswered about the proposed project, error, bookmarks not defined. What does that mean?
It was a technical error in the organization of the document. I can get that corrected.
Oh, okay, no sweat. All right.
Used to be page 6.
Okay. Let's begin moving forward. The letter to the voters of the town, other than the filling in of the resolution, I didn't have any heartburn on it. Did any of our council members have any heartburn with it?
Well, except for the, Will Hyde is in there too, but, and also in here, we identify the space in the third paragraph, or fourth paragraph, we identify 2 north and 3 north. I wonder if we should also mention the 4 in there.
Oh, I thought we could cover 4 when we got to page 6.
Where it breaks it all out.
Yeah, where it breaks it out up in the first bullet.
That's fine.
We can just add, this will also extend water services as far south as the Windy Plaza area.
That's fine.
Okay, cool. I did have a question on the third paragraph down on page 2. Says the council is requesting authorization to issue general obligation bonds in the principal amount not to exceed $13,500,000 payable from secondary ad valorem property taxes. The bonds, general obligation bonds, are secured by, and then it says an unlimited tax levy of the issuer. Those are some scary words. That's a trust me kind of statement, and I'm sure Mr. Cafiso said that needed to be in there, or what's the story on
They,
that?
in fact, did use that. I believe it is a term of art, or it's a legal term. And I don't know if we can further explain that or use a different term, but I can ask him.
Yeah, that's just a scary phrase, an unlimited tax levy of the issuer. And I understand they have to pay the debt, but that's a scary term. Yes, ma'am.
I agree the terminology is scary. They attempt to explain it after the semicolon, but I think you're right. It is extremely scary.
Yeah. Anyways, if it has to be there, it has to be there. I'm at this point in the game, I'm not going to choke over that. I did not have any questions on page 3.
Well, Chris,
Did you? Yes, ma'am.
on page 2 on the new one, he's got a note here. Should we include Will Hoyt or not?
Yeah, if you would, let's break for a moment and talk to us about Will Hoyt.
Yes, sir. Will Hoyt Water Company was acquired by Acme Water Company not long ago. Acme made some investments in that company. And so to determine value for the company, we initially turned to Dan Jackson, and a prior valuation that was made some time ago. Now that another company holds Will Hoyt Water and has made investments in it, its value may have changed somewhat. In your next agenda, there's an item that would provide funding for Jackson's company to evaluate the Will Hoyt or Acme Water Company, as it's now known, to provide its true value today, so that we would have a sense of sale price. Initially, Mr. Jackson's evaluation was $100,000. Even if it's more expensive than that by a factor of 3 or 4, it would still fall within the average connection cost per customer. You remember when he talked about the value of the total system divided by the customer accounts. The contingencies that are available in the bond program, we have a certain percentage available for engineering, we have a certain percentage available for contingencies. There are enough funds to absorb a change in value between 100,000 and, say, 300,000 or 400,000. I don't think there's contingencies for 100,000 to $1 million, but I think there's enough in there to cover the value. So if council wanted to keep their degrees of freedom open, they could leave Will Hoyt in this paperwork. We find out how much the company is worth, and if it's too expensive, then we don't acquire it. And if it's priced right, then we have the ability to use the bond funds for that.
Okay, yes, sir, Chief.
So the name of it now is Acme, not Will Hoyt?
Well,
Can we put Acme parenthesis formerly Will Hoyt or something so we don't?
yes, we can make that technically correct.
That way we don't get any confusion. People don't know really Acme.
Okay. Just a brief thought to share with the council. My thoughts are we ought to basically have Will Hoyt's name on here with Velcro, and if they want to price themselves out of the game, then that's okay. The document doesn't change. We just have everything highlighted, we yank it, and it's a done deal. But we have to have this done before this goes before the public. I don't want to be trying to iron this out last minute. So if we have it on with Velcro, we can yank it if they do price themselves out.
Well, you could word this, this document to say that the town may acquire the Will Hoyt water system. And that gives you the ability that if in your judgment as the town council, it's a good buy for the town, then you would use the GO. But if in your judgment as the town council, it was valued too high, then you could say thanks, but no thanks. You could give yourself the choice in this document if you want to. That would give you the maximum degrees of freedom based on what you find in terms of the valuation. And I don't think that Dan is able to get valuation on that company like next day. I mean, he's going to have to do work because they've done an investment. He's got to get paperwork out of them. To be able to value the company.
And how recently did he value it before?
Yeah, it'd
2007.
be 7-8 years
Okay.
ago. So.
That's not a bad idea. Okay. Mr. Turner?
Well, and the other question was too, 7 or 8 years ago, in that valuation, were the deficiencies that water system had, were they considered at that time? I mean, they had some major arsenic removal issues or
Major. Yes, it's on. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Turner. Yes, they did have some serious arsenic issues. The capital investment that Robert's speaking of is it's called a coagulation filtration system. They actually have an up and running arsenic removal system now that is functioning. When we met with Mr. West, he was very concerned to make sure that what we were using for the valuation does include all of that. He went to WIFA in order to get that system funded. So all of those things will be included in Dan's analysis, the WIFA terms, the things that we would need to acquire or pay off, or however we were to go about acquiring the system. And all that will be included in Dan's analysis. And you do have a change order to Dan's existing contract on Tuesday night's agenda. So I should point out, one of the things that we did in the 2007 analysis that we're not going to do in this one is a valuation method called an RCNLD. The reconstruct new less depreciation requires a tremendous amount of effort from an engineer to come in and do what the construction cost in today's dollars would be. When we got the change order price, it was a little ridiculous. So we went back to Dan and said, look, can we just pull the RCNLD out? We went back to Mr. West and said, if we use these other methods to value it, there's still 4 other methods that he still uses that are all financially based. And he said he was perfectly fine with that. So Mr. West is fine with it, and Dan Jackson is fine with coming up to his best analysis with these other methods. So that's what you'll be seeing in the coming weeks. Right now, he is, in fact, waiting on Mr. West. Mr. West has to get some paperwork into the Arizona Corporation Commission and get some of his recent paperwork up to date, and that's what Dan's currently waiting on.
And I guess that's where I was, in a nutshell, I was just wondering, what did Mr. West or Acme actually pay for that system in its defunct
Well, actually, 'cause
position before they went in and fixed it.
he was actually very frank in our meeting with him. The parties that owned the Will Hoyt Water Company owed Mr. West for other services that he did with them. He took over this water company and created Acme specifically as compensation for the funds that he was owed, which makes him, he was very adamant of saying, I'm a businessman here. You know, I need to make a little bit of money off of here. I don't want to be in the water business. I'm not a water kind of guy. He just did this just to settle up his bill. And I believe we can come up with a pretty reasonable number that he'll be interested in, and something that the town can actually afford in the process here.
Okay.
So, not to get too deep in the weeds, and I believe you have questions also. Not to get too deep in the weeds, could you please also check and see if the arsenic removal system is something that we can move and install elsewhere?
Yeah,
The
okay.
reason I'm asking
Yes.
is, you know, we might have other uses for it.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Besides the arsenic, were there any other improvements made?
No.
Okay,
It's just
just that
strictly the
one.
arsenic, yeah. The system still pretty much functions as it is. It services the Yavapai Mobile Home Park estates back there. It services Bonfire, and it services the Antelope, or the, whatever the apartments, I'm not sure the name of the apartments that are out on 89 up to 3 South there.
Okay.
That's what that is their customer base.
Okay.
So,
Sounds-
and when the town acquires this, we don't have an arsenic problem where we're getting our water from on Bright Star. We don't foresee continuing the operation of the arsenic system. They are a little bit expensive to operate. We'll tie them into the Prescott system once we acquire that. At the same time, there's a pipeline that literally runs right in front of Bonfire. And we'll do the appropriate interconnects and a pressure reducing valve in order to make sure we don't blow them apart, because when they did the 2007 RCNLD, the engineer made a very important note of saying that at the time that this was constructed, American Water Works Association standards were not necessarily adhered to as far as the types of pipe and the methods of restrained joint and so on. It's a lot of irrigation pipe up in there. So we want to make sure that we don't give them too much pressure over what they're seeing right now today.
And that was exactly why I asked about the arsenic system being portable.
Yes.
If we're putting good water in there and we buy a brand-new arsenic system that we're not using, and we're forced by law to keep it where it is because it's on a WIFA loan, then that could play a big part in it.
And those are things that Dan will investigate, of
Yeah.
course.
Cool.
It is important to remember, is associated with the acquisition of well number 6, there is an arsenic treatment system on there that Prescott is currently leasing from Lane Christensen. And that arsenic system, that lease will expire when the town acquires that well, and there is an arsenic problem on there. I've done several coagulation filtration systems. They are perhaps not, it's not like it's on a skid where you just back up the truck and load it up, but it is certainly things that we can modify, take the acid tanks, take the different mixing tanks, and move them into other facilities. They are pretty movable, but we'll make sure that we go through and do an analysis during our due diligence process.
Excellent. Like I said, didn't want to be too deep in the weeds, but don't want to buy an albatross either.
No, exactly.
Ms. Hatch, did you have any questions? No more, Mr. Best? Okay. Excellent. That gets us up to speed on the Will Hoyt deal. If it pleases the council, we can move forward with the idea of wording it as the town may purchase the Will Hoyt water system. We can put that in the document, and then that gives us the freedom. Okay, continuing onwards. I'm glad these are at least marked with the same page numbers. Page number 4, did anyone have any questions or additions?
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I've got a question about the ballot process. It doesn't say anywhere on here, do we need a simple majority or a three-quarter majority? It doesn't say anything.
Oh, okay, on page 4, okay.
Should that be included in this?
All right.
Since we're talking about people voting what is a positive and what, how much do we have to?
We could definitely put that in there. There's nothing, there's no reason why we shouldn't.
Okay. And it would be a simple majority, correct?
Would you want that in Jamie's letter, or would you want that in the Q&A?
Where it talks about the bond.
What the
you have
bond
to be
is, how-
eligible for it to vote and things like that.
That would be,
That would be in the back. I think that's kind of instructional.
information about the bonds.
Oh, it says if approved at the election.
What page is
On
that?
her cover letter, it says if approved
what
at
you
the
need.
election, and then you could just put in by what
Okay.
percentage.
Yeah.
Okay, if approved at the election, and that's in the cover letter, which is
Page 2.
Page
Page
2, paragraph 4.
2, paragraph 4, 3, 4. If approved at the election by a simple majority or whatever,
I
okay.
think that would be,
We'll insert that
By a simple
page.
majority of the qualified
Yeah,
voters.
yeah.
or whatever.
Okay.
those that vote.
Well, yeah, of the voter, those who vote, yeah, you're right.
Of the people who show up.
People who show up, the electorate.
Okay.
Get simple majority to show up.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Okay. So that will be on page 2, paragraph 4 in the top line, if approved at the election. Okay, excellent, thank you. Moving back to page 4 again.
So we're back on page 4.
Let's see. Yeah, I had a question on item 2 of page 4. At the very bottom of paragraph 2, it says, and it will enable the town to control and operate the plant while also eliminating payments to a private party that include profit margins. That would be, that private party would be the owner of the plant and the profit margins received by that owner, correct?
Yes, sir. And technically, we own it,
Mm-hmm.
but the contractor hasn't been paid off yet.
Right, okay.
So,
okay.
yeah, but yes, sir.
Okay.
That private party, I didn't add the fan name in there again.
No, there's no sense in doing that. Okay, cool. All right. Any other questions on page 4? Okay. Moving to page 5. And we still don't have any items on our new sheet, so that's good. Moving to page 5, I had a question on paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4, paragraph 4 down, the second paragraph below, how do general obligation bonds work? It begins with if approved. The last line says some of the costs may be paid from other town sources that will reduce the amount of property taxes required. I didn't quite understand that. Is that the general fund or?
If the town, at the end of its fiscal year, or at any time, I guess, if the town determines that it has a surplus of funds, it can choose, the council can choose to apply some of those funds towards the bond issue.
Sweet, like paying down your principal. Okay.
Yes, sir. And so if the town council, and if the finances are going well, and the council believes that we have the funds available, we too can participate in paying down the amount of the assessment.
Okay, yes, sir.
If I was a citizen out there and I read that, I'd say, well, why in the hell are we passing this bond if we can pay it out of your other accounts? I'd take that sentence out. I think that's,
Yeah. It's a good point. Private citizen, I don't know though, if we don't put it in there, then we cannot use, is it true that we cannot use GEO funds or
No.
general funds? No?
No, sir.
Okay.
I believe you could pay on the bond issue at hand if you wanted to, without it being in the information pamphlet.
Okay, okay, cool. Yeah, that may be a red flag. It may aggravate more than it'll help. It made the vice mayor mad, so, well,
That's easy.
yeah, okay.
So staff can strike this line then?
Well, let's see what the rest of the council thinks.
Well, just when talking about that, I'm wondering if maybe that can be information that is given to people that are assigned to the task of going out and educating the public.
Okay.
And if that comes up, talking to somebody, they can say, well, if things are better in the town,
Yeah.
the council can choose to, you
Yeah.
know, spend money that we've got and borrow less.
Okay, it gives us a talking point.
Right, but at
Okay.
least then it can be explained.
You bet, cool.
The only possibility is put in a question and answers.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's true, too.
okay,
But I
Okay.
think he's right. I think that
yeah,
makes you think, huh,
yeah.
what's the town doing here?
Yeah, well, if it please the council, let's plan on striking that then,
Thank
okay?
you. I could sleep tonight.
Yeah, it sounded like a bearing going bad, all that whining sound in my right ear. Okay, any other questions on the, on page 5 before the vice mayor hits me with something?
Yeah,
No?
I have another confusing, the
Mhm.
last sentences that could be confusing too.
The last sentence on page
I
5.
understand what it says, that there's a portion on your tax bill for taxes for the county and town, on the county tax bill,
Mhm.
the tax rate, but it's never filled, is that important? It says here, your tax bill from the county has a separate primary secondary property tax rate for the town as well as most other local governments. But it says here, Chino Valley currently does not have a primary property tax. All it,
Yeah, yeah.
to me, that's another, might be a confusion point.
On the handout,
Yeah.
Vice Mayor,
Yeah.
we attempted to make it a little more clear by including some information in parentheses in that sentence, where it says,
Let me go to 5.
your secondary property tax rate for the town, both are currently 0.
Robert, yeah, I got a little bit of heartburn with this too. This isn't in keeping with what was in our, and it isn't highlighted either. And so, when the vice mayor started reading that, I was trying to find it on my original and couldn't find it. I thought that wording, had been taken out in our last, no? Okay.
But
Some
it's not
communities.
necessary for the purposes of the pamphlet. And all of this wording in this section were provided by Mr. Cafiso to try and educate people on what the taxes were and what was
Right.
common to communities and what was happening in Chino Valley.
Okay,
Yeah, this does have a separate line and it's not highlighted.
yeah.
It has a whole sentence that isn't in the first one.
Primary property tax rate.
Chino Valley, and then it has
I just think
secondary.
they're adding things there that don't need to be there, that could
Yeah.
be confusing to,
Yeah,
that's,
yeah. I like it the way it was worded in in the one that was in our mailbox. One that was in our mailbox says, some communities use primary property taxes to fund the maintenance and operation budgets for local governments. That gives the citizen the understanding of what they use it for. Chino Valley currently does not have a primary property tax. That's bold. That gives them the understanding, okay, we don't have a primary property tax. Most communities use secondary property taxes to pay for bond issues like the one proposed here. Your tax bill from the county has a separate primary and secondary property tax rate for the town, as well as most other local governments. I think that both are currently 0 is almost, it just muddies the water. What's the thoughts of our council on it?
Well, the first 3 sentences give information.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of it his comment, but does it really give the public any additional information that is pertinent to what we're attempting to do?
Yeah, unless the tax experts insist that it has to be in there, I'd be good with striking from your tax bill on down to the bottom, to where it says some communities use primary property taxes to fund the maintenance and operation budgets for local governments. The town of Chino Valley currently does not have a primary property tax. Secondary property taxes pay for bond issues like the one proposed here.
And then that would be the end of the paragraph.
And that would be the end of the paragraph.
Okay.
Like I said, unless legally they feel that it has to be in there, it simply seems like it's, if we load too much information on folks, their eyes glaze over, and then when they get to something important, they're not going to see it. So, okay. Any other questions on page 5 for anyone? Okay.
You cleared it up pretty good.
Okay. We beat it up pretty good, did we?
I
Okay.
said cleared it up, I just didn't like using it.
All right. Moving on to page 6. On the first bullet, on the top of page 6, where it says acquire a portion, can we get that up on the board? Okay. Anyway, acquire a portion of the domestic water system owned by the city of Prescott, Arizona, and possibly the Wilhoit Water Company. At the bottom of that bullet, what I'd like to do is right after the $4,250,000, add another sentence that says, this will also extend water services as far south as the Windy Plaza area. Ms. Hatch contacted me today and gave me the date of the town council meeting where that was mentioned. Mr. Gripman had said during his presentation on the pressure zones in the Prescott water system, he said that that purchase would get the water down to the Windy Plaza area, and it would make it, what was the wording on that? Make it a quick connection or something like that?
It was a quick development project or
Yes,
quick industrial or some kind of a development. What did you
yes,
say, development
there-
project?
Yeah, there was a phrase that you used, but it was on the February 25th council meeting, and it was like, we'll have the water lines down there. It won't be a big deal to connect up down there.
Yes, it won't be a big deal. But by acquiring the Prescott water lines, it will get us down on the north side of 4 South, on the east side of Highway 89. That's where their water line comes to. It comes across under the roundabout at kind of a diagonal angle because it actually comes out on the southwest corner.
Wow.
So it's on the west side of the highway on the south side of 89. Okay, or I'm sorry, on the
Yeah.
south side of 4 South.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the water line's on the east side, just north of 4 South. So for us to do a capital project from there straight down to Windy Plaza, I mean, our numbers on going from 2 north to 3 north are more than comfortable enough. We're going to have ample monies left over, and the council will have a decision at some point in the future to either cut back what the bond issue is going to be or to do other capital projects. These are the examples of the other capital projects,
Cool.
and it could go in literally just a matter of months.
Yeah.
It'd be a snap, it'd be a piece of cake capital project to do.
Oh, okay. And going across 4 South would be so much easier than cutting
Cross
through
89.
89.
And to give you an idea, every time that we cross 89, we have to bore that. ADOT requires that we go underneath and we actually tunnel underneath it. You're looking around 200 to 250,000 per bore.
Yeah.
That will be more than enough to just cover the cost of running it down the east side from the north side of 4 South. We just cross 4 South and just keep on going. It's not going to be, it's a very simple capital project. Very
Excellent,
simple.
excellent. Thank you. Okay. So if it please the council.
Mayor, you've got a question.
Yes, sir.
So my question is it going to be will or may?
Oh, yeah, my thoughts were this will also extend water services as far south as the Windy Plaza area.
That's without
But-
buying Wilhoit.
That's without buying
It's all-
Wilhoit
the pipes
because
are
it's,
already
the
there.
pipes are already there.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. I know it was mentioned in that meeting that it's a possibility. It's going to be the council's choice on whether to put it in there as a will or as a may.
Well, and that's what I'm
Yeah,
asking,
yeah.
are we gonna commit to it and say will?
Well,
Yeah.
it was part of the funding plan, that's it, when we had that presentation, he said it's part of the 1.1, which is now 1.2
Right.
million, so it's part of the plan. So we
Okay.
should probably say
Will do
will,
it.
but with the
Yeah.
rest of the wording he used, he said as far as, will,
Mhm.
as far as, which kind
Mhm.
of gives you an out anyway, but I think that it is a will. you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
We can put may if you feel better about it, but
I'd rather have will. That gives the people down there more hope that they're gonna go and get water services.
Yeah,
As long as we make sure we can do it. I don't wanna,
Yeah,
we've
yeah.
already got a fib
Yeah.
on our chalkboard. We don't want another one.
Yeah, we
So if we
don't,
say we're gonna do it,
yeah.
let's do it.
yeah, we don't want
Probably
to
not the only people.
make a bunch of promises that we can't keep. That's
Right.
true. But saying this will also extend water services as far south as the Wendy Plaza area, what it's saying is we're tying into the Prescott lines. It will be that far south. We're not saying by May of 2015, business so-and-so will have water at their front door, because we can't say that. Unless that's our primary cause for the bond issue, all right, which it isn't.
Right.
But I think by saying this will also extend water services far south as the Wendy Plaza area, I think it lets those folks know that we want to
Include them.
include them, and we're picking up Prescott lines that are already in that area.
And there is ample.
He'll start acting like a TV evangelist if you give him the
Microphone talking does this. But there is ample money. We are perfectly fine, including the $1.2 million to tie into the Prescott system, into our system, to include a small capital project to run water line down there. There's ample money in all of these estimates for these things, yes.
Okay.
It's not a problem, including will.
Cool.
And I completely agree with Councilmember Turner's. We have enough black eyes, and it would be really nice for once in a while that we can start fulfilling on some of these long overdue promises.
You bet. Excellent. Thank you.
Mayor, if I could, I don't
Yes,
want
sir.
to make the meeting any longer, but to give you more of a comfort level, we are pursuing the EPA grant that was left kind of in a drawer here. I think that's over $400,000. It's like $470,000, and it is for water systems. And so we're very comfortable that the money exists within this package and within the other funds that are here to do all of this and more.
Wonderful. Okay. Excellent. Well, we'll leave it with will. This will also extend water services as far south as the Wendy Plaza area. The only other note that, and I don't know if it needs to be included, but in bullet number 4, right below why are the projects needed, to increase sewer collection and intercept of waste streams, to maximize treatment and recharge of those wastewater flows into the aquifer, and to preserve the town's aquifer and water resources for future generations. Elsewhere in the document, I believe it makes note that Chino Valley recharges 300,000 gallons per day of polished effluent back into the aquifer. And so it might be redundant to put it in two different spots, but that's something that is a big talking point. You know, folks, as long as they turn the tap on and life is good, you know, when water comes out, but we need to be looking towards the future on that. So anyway, I don't know how the council feels about it. If it's cool with you, we'll leave it elsewhere in the document and not add it in here on this bullet point. Okay, cool. Make a shorter document. Okay, any other questions or thoughts on number 6, page number 6?
Yeah, I do.
Yes, sir.
Road system maintenance, that first sentence to me is very clumsy. It leaves me,
What
the town
paragraph?
is not able to maintain its road properly because state funding has been reduced. and because town general funds must currently be used to subsidize the water and sewer utilities, which have been operating at deficit for a year, maybe that could be used for streets and roads. So to me, it doesn't tie itself back together, it just kind of dies.
Which paragraph is that?
Under road system maintenance,
Oh,
number
you're on
one.
page 7.
I'm on
Okay,
7.
is everybody good with page 6? We'll hop to page
Okay, now
7.
we're going to 7.
Okay, cool.
I'm ahead of you guys.
We're on 7.
I want to get this done, go home.
Let's note that the vice mayor is ahead of his time.
Yeah,
Okay.
for once in a while.
Page 7, and what paragraph?
Paragraph, road system maintenance. about
Road
the
system
third.
maintenance, okay, a little
One
above
third of the way
halfway
down.
down. Okay, got it.
Says the town is not able to maintain its road properly because state funding has been reduced. That's good.
Well,
And
wait a
because the
minute.
town general funds must currently be used to subsidize water and sewer utilities, which have been operating at deficit for years. Can we use that, could we have used that money for streets and roads?
I have a problem with the first part of the sentence. I don't know if it's a good idea to admit we haven't maintained roads properly. You might better say that, instead of saying we haven't been able to maintain roads properly, you might say there's deferred maintenance, because if you say they have not been maintained properly, if something happens, we're sitting ducks, you know? And,
That's a thought.
I mean,
Yeah.
you know, that might be used to say we caused an
Yeah,
accident
yeah,
or something, you
yeah.
know? So I think I'd change that to begin with, and then go on with what Daryl says. You might say that it's behind on deferred maintenance, but I don't know if I'd say not properly maintained roads.
Would it be appropriate just to strike the word properly?
I would say defer, the
Yeah.
point deferred maintenance to me is much.
How about this, Vice Mayor, if we start with the word because state funding has been reduced, the town has had to defer road maintenance, and because town general funds must be, would
Well,
that be
because-
tolerable?
I'd still like to tie that, because funds have been subsidized water and sewer, they haven't been able to use them. on the
Yeah.
roads.
Why don't you start with, because the town general funds must currently be used to subsidize water and sewer utilities, then put the town
There you go.
Yeah, because,
That's deferred.
has deferred maintenance on the roads, has used the funding to,
Yep.
has used road fundings and something like
Yeah,
that.
that's,
okay.
yes, that sounds all right.
All right, because, beginning with the second line about halfway through, because town general funds must be currently be used to subsidize the water and sewer utilities which have been operating at a deficit for years. Where do we patch the wording in at?
And then say the town roads,
Yeah, have
the
had
town road
deferred
funds
maintenance.
have been
Yeah.
used,
They've been reduced and
Been reduced.
have been reduced.
reduced
yeah.
maintenance on the roads.
Yeah, road maintenance has been deferred.
There you go.
Okay,
That works.
so how's this fit? Right under 1, road system maintenance. Because town general funds must currently be used to subsidize the water and sewer utilities, road maintenance has been deferred, or something like that.
For the past 6 years.
Okay. Has been deferred.
Well, this is a really big one, I guess, but picture taking that first paragraph completely out. You end the second paragraph with, for the utility subsidy can then be put towards road repairs, and maybe you could put a couple more comments if you wanted to. Seems like there's a lot of emphasis on,
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
you're
You know,
right.
You're right. If we scrap paragraph 1 and just put at the very end, general fund dollars which are required for the utility subsidy can then be put towards road repairs, which have been deferred for several years.
yeah.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay.
I just think that first paragraph, the more I read it,
It's
seems
clumsy.
like a lot of whining, you
It's
know,
clumsy,
and, you know,
yeah.
it's a downer instead of a positive thing
Yeah.
that's coming from it.
Make this document shorter, I like that.
Yeah. Shorter and less whiny. Okay, that's good.
Wine is, I like wine.
Only if you have your cheese.
All right.
Well,
Okay.
we beat that to death.
So we, now, Chief, so we scrap paragraph 1, finish paragraph 2 with comma, and which have been deferred for several years. Is that tolerable for everybody?
Yes.
Okay. Any other comments on page 7?
I hate to go back, but that second paragraph that we were just massaging by putting something at the end,
Mm-hmm.
that last sentence becomes very, very long, and I would suggest that after the word, quote, break even, end quote, that a period be inserted there,
Mm-hmm.
and that there be the beginning of a new sentence there.
Yeah, we'll just scrap the word and
Yeah.
capitalize T for the. Okay,
Yeah.
excellent.
And I guess before we nail that down, Ron, does that look, I mean, does that get across what you want to see? Okay.
Okay,
That
excellent.
works for you, Ron.
Okay. Moving onwards to page 8.
Wait, 7, that paragraph 3.
Uh-huh.
The acquisition of the City of Prescott's domestic water system in the town will affect about 650. It's kind of, the acquisition of the City of Prescott domestic water system will affect about, you don't need in the town, will affect about 650 user accounts, again, in the town.
Yeah.
And that's
yeah,
really clumsy.
yeah.
About 600, I'd take out the in the towns and say which are serviced by the City of Prescott. Those water users will see at a minimum a rate reduction of approximately 30%.
Yeah. 'Cause
And that, I don't think you need in the town at
Got
all.
too many in the towns.
Yeah.
You're right.
This was printed up by the Department of Redundancy Department, correct?
And if I could, there was an intentional effort there because we believe that there may be some confusion when the voters read the pamphlet and they're reading about the City of Prescott's water system and the town of Chino Valley's water system. We have to be very careful to ensure that we're talking about city versus town.
Okay.
'Cause we don't want voters to think that we're buying part of Prescott's transmission system. It can be confusing, but I'm in agreement. The fewer words, the better here.
Well, number one, if you're going to leave in the town there, but do it this way, I would suggest, the acquisition of the City of Prescott's domestic water system by the town will affect about 650 water user accounts.
In the town.
I would say
City of
town
Prescott.
water user accounts
Yeah.
instead of in the town again.
But they're not town water.
We're not town water
Yeah,
then.
right.
Okay, if we scrap the second in the town and leave the first in the town, it defines
I like that.
Prescott's domestic water
I'll do
system,
it.
and then the rest of the sentence that are serviced by the City of Prescott, it defines it without making it too redundant.
I
Okay?
think I'd put in the town limits, though. The acquisition of City of Prescott's domestic water system within the town limits will affect about 650 water user accounts, which are currently serviced by the City of Prescott.
Okay, yeah, within the town limits, there's no sweat.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see, any other questions on page 7? Okay, moving onwards to page 8. Okay, let's see. Certain higher than necessary costs and utility charges, okay.
You know, this is the second time, okay, we've defined WWTP on page 4.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they'll remember what it is.
Wastewater treatment plant.
Yeah, but
yeah.
it's on page 4 in parentheses when they,
Okay. Yeah, when they get that recharge of effluent from the WWTP, hopefully they'll connect the dots on that. And this is the spot where it does talk about how many gallons per day we're recharging back to the aquifer. All right, any other questions or comments on page 8? No. Moving towards page 9. Got a
eight,
problem with 8
well,
still?
where it says should experience an increase, you might say may. I don't know. The last paragraph,
Right, yeah, I had that underlined, should experience an increase in value as well as development interest.
You know,
But,
it's
you
funny
know.
that you guys landed on that. Staff had will.
Mhm.
Mike Cafiso put it to should.
Yeah,
If you
yeah,
want us to go to may, we can.
yeah.
I like
Oh.
May, I think it,
May?
mhm.
Okay,
Good point.
May it is.
Where, what line was that? Let's see.
Okay,
Last paragraph, third line.
okay. Moving on to page 9, enhancing fire protection. Okay. That, this first paragraph, additionally, at the bottom line in the first paragraph, additionally, City of Prescott impact fees will no longer apply to new development seeking connections to those water lines. Is that clear enough to you guys? I'm wondering if citizens will catch on to the fact that City of Prescott impact fees, you know, because those are not effective, it may help boost development or whatever. I don't know if that's clear enough for the average citizen. How about you
No,
guys?
I don't think so. But my concern is connection fees for the new system.
Yeah, we're going to get there in just a few moments. Hold on to the bronze horses. See if
They're not gonna go home, that's my.
they're not going to, okay, fine. All right.
why is that under enhancing fire protection?
Enhancing fire protections. dealing
Additionally,
with the
City of
top.
Prescott impact fees will no longer
Yeah,
apply?
that's just an aside. Yeah, it really is. I mean, where else are you going to plug it in? You could probably go down into the local economy, but I think they just threw it in as an aside.
Well, wouldn't
What
you
about-
say additionally, City of Prescott impact fees will no longer be charged to new developments seeking connection to these water lines?
Yeah, well, apply pretty much says the same. The question that the vice mayor was after is down at the bottom of page 9. If it suits everybody to go down to that paragraph, I would like to suggest where it says the town council can choose to waive required connection fees. I would like to not only waive them, but put the wording, change it to the town council has chosen to waive connection fees and to the water and sewer utilities, because I would like to see them paid out of the bond.
Isn't that an item we'll have to bring to the council?
Well, is there enough in the bond to take care of that? Okay,
I agree with you 100%.
yeah, then fine.
I agree.
Yeah, waive them.
Okay,
Did
because
we say that somewhere?
I had under scenario 3 from one of the Dan Jackson presentations from 6/24/2014. In scenario number 3, he showed us what the results would be if we had no buy-in fees in the bond area. not throughout the whole town, but just in the bond area.
I support it 100%.
It's basically no impact on the water side and small
If we
impact
don't
on
get
wastewater.
that, then we're not gonna get any buy-in from the
Right.
small business.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now are we going to make this for existing businesses? Or are we opening the door for every piece of property?
And is there a time limit on it?
Well, sure, complicated.
I mean, I'm all
Yeah.
good, I'm all
Yeah.
good for cutting slack to the business owners that are there.
Yes.
But I can see where this could start a frenzy where everybody's jumping on the bandwagon with a bare piece of property saying, hey, we want our meter set.
Get me
Yeah.
that now.
Yeah,
You know.
without having a building on it.
Right.
Yeah. The town,
If I-
the town council has chosen to waive connection fees for existing businesses.
If I
Buildings.
could,
Wait,
Yes, sir.
if I could jump in. There's several ways that we can handle this.
Okay.
We could decide that connections are only going to be made for active uses. So you could say, we're going to waive connection fees in this particular area for this particular amount of time, say during the construction activity of the project itself. And if you're existing with an existing use and you're being required to join the party, we're going to waive that. You could also make it clear that if somebody at that particular point in time wanted to create a business and connect their business up, that would be fine too.
Right.
But I don't know that we can create an active sewer account or an active water account for a piece of raw land. I don't know that we even provide that for someone.
Okay.
and I don't think it should be just businesses, it needs to be homes if they happen to
Yeah,
be there.
Yeah, that's why I said the town has chosen to waive connection fees. Yes, sir.
And we crossed this bridge when we did the Chino Meadows project. There were lots of vacant lands within Chino Meadows that savvy property owners said, hey, will you come out and set a meter and give me a connection, even though I have nothing here, I'll pay today's buy-in fees. And at the time, the council made the decision that, no, we're setting no meters, no nothing for a property that is vacant. And it was not, I mean, it wasn't badly received. Everybody said, well, I guess that kind of makes sense.
When you
So-
say vacant, you mean no building on it?
Yes, no building on it. Now, if there's a vacant building on it, we will set a meter for that vacant building. Now,
Right.
this is a flat, raw piece of land, nothing there.
Okay. I'd like to word it in a way that existing businesses, or a business existing at the time that the sewer line is going by. Because if
And/or
somebody.
resident,
Yeah, and/or residents. If someone is going to build a building on a raw piece of land and start a business because he sees that the area is being developed, I don't think he should be penalized. He should be allowed to hook in if he's got a building there. And as was pointed out by Ms. Hatch, residences, absolutely, they, as
So
it
do we
comes
need to
by
say
their-
structures
Yeah,
rather than businesses? or-
yeah. We gotta be careful about that. I could put up a cardboard house as the sewer line is going by,
No,
get
it
my
would have to
meter.
be a permitted.
Yeah, permitted structure, okay.
One of the overarching objectives of the entire project is to create some development up there. And so as a reward to someone who says, wow, you're gonna put pipe in the ground, and it passed the vote, okay, I'm gonna go build my office or whatever up
Right.
there. That person who sees what the town's doing and jumps forward and does something with their property while that is happening needs to be rewarded.
Right.
Because that's what we're after with the project, is the investment. So the existing businesses and homes, and somebody who's in the middle of doing something right when the GEO bond project is being constructed. But once all the machines are gone and the dirt has stopped moving. that
We're
needs-
looking at a 2-year period, correct? Okay.
Well, 18.
18, okay,
So that's where we need the timeline.
right.
So where do we draw that line? Is it right up until the last piece of equipment leaves, or is it the middle of the project?
I think it's fair to say, for clarity's sake, at the conclusion of the construction project, that's the end of the subsidy on the connection fees.
Yeah,
That gives you almost 2 years to get your stuff in a pile and get started with your construction, and
Okay.
it has to be limited. We can't afford for it to be open-ended, but we want investment up there.
Mm-hmm. You bet. That's one of the main drivers here.
So
Okay.
you're saying we're gonna use that for a little bait?
Okay. Yeah. Cool. At the conclusion of the construction project, those connection fees will go away.
Sounds good.
Okay.
So if it's acceptable to council, we'll endeavor to draft this, and
Okay.
then we'll look again at it on Tuesday night.
You bet. You know the parameters that we're shooting for. So, any other thoughts on this item? We've got existing residences, and there may be some new residences built during that next 2 years. But it'll be residences and commercial ventures. And the door will be open until the conclusion of the construction project.
And one more point of clarity, and Ron, please jump in here, but our current connection policy requires a connection on a mandate of 400 feet to the existing septic system. For the purposes of this project, I don't know if we want to call that 400 feet to the property line, but if you're past that 400-foot mark and you want water and sewer service, we may need to chat about that, because that circumstance could come up the way this project's being constructed.
Well, yes, it could come up. In the original code, the way that the town's current code, it actually does state to the water, or to the property line. As I've said before, the staff has interpreted that to mean to the septic system itself, to the actual tank. Because as we were doing other projects, the Road 1 East sewer line project down to the Days Inn is the biggest one that comes to mind. We had a couple of residents that were these long skinny lots that they were 600-700 feet away. Since you're talking about having an incentive to waive the fee, I would still suggest that you leave it 400 foot to the septic system. But if somebody's past that, you now have some incentive to tie in now while you can and have this fee waived over here. Because it's not the sewer buy-in fee is $6,000. It's not a small fee.
But the only circumstance that I could see that being allowed to happen would be where that service line would provide whatever it is that the person needs. If they're 4 blocks away from the GO bond project and they're well outside of the 400-foot level, we can't offer them free connection fees
No.
to this project.
No.
So there has to be an outside limit on that.
No, and there is a defined area. We actually have a map of what we are defining as the GO bond area, and it will only encompass properties that are within that area.
Okay.
So, yeah, we won't be running this thing just hither and yon. And remember, and the council has given staff lots of direction on this to avoid, where possible, as many single-family homes as possible. So, we're going to be picking and choosing, trying to maximize the commercial properties and trying to avoid as many single-family residentials unless a particular somebody wants it there. We are going to be trying to avoid as many of them as what we possibly can.
Cool.
So, I don't think that the distance requirement here is going to be as critical as what it was on Road 1 East, or as problematic as what it was on Road 1 East.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
A certain street named Shelby Court, the sewer line is actually within 400 feet, but the
Yes.
main is not.
Right.
Was that language ever corrected? Because some people who were forced to go on felt that certain people should have to go on because they were within 400 feet, even though it wasn't 400 feet of the main.
Council
And it
has.
ended in homes are here, and that's within 400 feet, the way it was written, and the people who had to go on here were screaming that some special
Yeah.
rights were given to the people here because they were within 400 feet, but they couldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, because you asked the question, has it been fixed? And the answer is no, it hasn't, because none of the Chapter 50 and 51 revisions have come to the council yet. When we changed attorneys it took them quite a while to get caught up to speed on what we were doing with those revisions to those two sections of the chapter. We have addressed it in the stuff that we're working on. Council has not adopted it yet. So in answer to your specific question is no, it's not fixed in the current code. But how we interpret this, we're trying to make this as rational and reasonable as possible. The way that it currently is written is it does reference that the pipe has to at least hit your frontage of your property in order to be qualified to even get the distance measurement. Because if somebody's home, as Councilmember Hatch has pointed out, we have many homes that are within 400 feet of the actual sewer line. But the sewer line is down, and that's measured down and around the corner, and it's across Billy Bob's property next door to me here. So we don't send out nastygrams to those folks saying you have to tie into the sewer system because your service connection can't run that way in the street. We won't allow that, those types of circuitous, paths to go for your service connection. So we are trying to do everything we possibly can to make this as painless as possible.
Okay. Oh, just in addition, as long as we don't own the wastewater treatment system, anything that we do as a council to try and mitigate that stuff is going to be perceived as trying to get out of paying for the sewer system. So really, once we own it, then we can somewhat control our destiny.
We do own it once we've paid it off, you
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, because we do own it, but the mayor is correct. Mr. Fan, I don't mean Mr. Fan specifically, but Fan Contracting, on a great many of occasions has raised the fact that he has not been compensated for certain styles of connection that are not clearly defined in the agreement.
Yeah.
All the more reason why the settlement that is currently before the council in some draft form doesn't try to address those things. It just says we're just going to agree to this is the number and all the things go away. And it just helps clarify everything so much.
You bet.
So,
Yeah,
Councilmember Turner.
as has been pointed out, we own it, but it's sort of like it's mine until the bank tells me different.
Exactly,
Yeah, yeah.
exactly.
Okay. Yes, sir.
I just want to go back to the 400 feet thing again, just to make sure I understand what you're saying. So if someone is within 400 feet, their septic system is within 400 feet, and they are required under our current code to hook up, we would waive it.
Yes.
If they're 500 feet and they want to hook up, are we still waiving that hookup fee?
If it's an existing structure and the property is within the GO bond area, and this is one of the single-family homes that we're trying to avoid, yeah, I would think that it's just fair that if they actually say, no, please extend the line so I'm within 400 feet now, therefore, I mean, it just seems reasonable to offer them the same level of,
Yeah.
because again, that will only apply to a single-family home that we're trying to avoid. That's the only time it's ever going to apply. So if that person makes the request, please get the sewer line so I can tie into it, it's reasonable to say then you don't need to pay the buy-in fee either, because
Right.
you're within the GO bond area. You're now electing to have us build the line so you can have the benefit of it. Therefore, you get the waiver.
I had forgotten that we even had this map.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd forgotten that it was up on the wall, but this map does a pretty good job of showing all the properties that are inside of the GeoBond area. It shows where we're running these regional collection lines.
Can you sort of back
Yes,
that
sir.
away
I'm
to where we
sorry.
can all pick it up? Yes, sir.
And so, I get what you're saying, Lon, because the guy who's in this house right here may want sewer service. And are you gonna charge him $10,000 and this guy nothing? I get what he's saying.
Yeah, but again, though, that's only for a single-family home, because every other commercial property, no, but those folks are outside the GO bond area.
And the predominant question is, are you gonna charge this guy 10 grand and this guy nothing?
He's out of the
When,
bond area, yeah.
Yeah, if he's out of the bond
He's out of
area.
the bond area, that's
I
what
see what you're
money's for.
saying, because
So do
technically,
you-
yes, I mean,
I wasn't going to be, but I am now.
400 feet around that.
yeah, I see
Do
what
you
you're
know what I'm
saying.
saying?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
So it may be that we have to have a combination of this 400-foot limit and this map to be
Yeah.
able to determine out of the group.
Yeah, just 400 foot from the line,
Well,
in or out.
I'm going to give you an example that hit my mind, and that's what brought the question up. Rogers Automotive. He's got his business out front. Obviously, within the 400 feet, he's going to be required to hook up. He's got two residences in the back that are probably 600 feet. That's what I'm talking about. If he says, you're
Yeah.
hooking up my business, I want to go ahead and hook up these two structures also, is he going to fall within that?
I don't see a reason why you wouldn't waive
Okay.
their fee.
Okay.
Well, the parcel itself is within.
Exactly, the
yeah.
parcel itself is within the
septic
GeoBond
tanks, I
area.
don't know where-
Okay,
There-
that answers my question. That's what I was getting at.
What Robert was alluding to is we have literally six single-family homes that are on the western, they're right here. They're on the western boundary, outside the GeoBond area. However, where we're going to run the pipe at, the pipe's not going to be out in 89. We're not going to be messing with ADOT. The pipe is going to be back behind, is where this regional pipe is going to be. And then we're going to be extending tentacles out towards 89 to pick up everything, both water and sewer. So these six residences right here would be the ones that are actually about the only ones, possibly these four right here. But again, this is an example of what Councilmember Hatch was bringing up. You may be within the 400 feet, but the pipe is over here, and you don't have frontage where that pipe is at. Rear edge, side edge, you can't get there without crossing somebody else's land.
Right.
Therefore, we don't consider that the 400 foot, but possibly those. But it is a small amount. I mean, my recommendation is to make all of these as encouraging as possible, to waive this buy-in fee for the areas that are within or within 400 feet of adjacent to the GeoBond area.
And collect those flows.
Right.
Why wouldn't,
Yes,
why
ma'am.
wouldn't you say something like, within 400 feet of the area affected by the GeoBond? That way you could cover, or something like that, so you could cover, because the pipe would be in the GeoBond area. I guess it's not.
Well,
You might
Or the
could do
piping in, that was within 400 feet of where the pipe is placed because of the GeoBond would also be waived. That way you'd cover those six homes.
Linda, if you dial that in one more notch, you could say not requiring a feeder run of more than X feet. And that could get you there.
Well, again, I don't think you want to get quite so legalistic and tied down here. I think the council has expressed a desire to, anybody who is reasonably close to tying into this thing between 2 North and 3 North, because technically the Prescott Water System acquisition is part of the GeoBond area, but that takes us all the way down to 4 South. So, what we're talking about is the council has expressed it. We will work with everybody within this area and assure them that the buy-in fee will not be applied. And somebody who, if somebody is 405 feet away, we're still going to say, if you want to tie in, we'll waive the fee, because the intention of the council is to keep it within 2 North to 3 North. As few people pay buy-in fees, and this is what's possible.
Can we say within 400 feet, if their property line is within 400 feet of the sewer line? Would that work? Would that pick up those houses?
Yes,
Okay. Would that be painless enough?
yes.
All right.
Approximately 400 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, because again, if somebody's 410
roughly
feet, we're not
400
going to
feet.
cut these legal hairs.
400 feet Chino measurement. Okay. Cool. Well, Mr. Smith, you can wordsmith that one, I
We'll
guess.
come up with something.
Because we've got to get through this and get onto our general plan here. Let's see, page 11, page 10, I think, was where we were at. I just had a question on page 10, right under how are water and sewer rates expected to be affected should the bonds be approved. It says acquired Prescott water users, approximately 30% water rate reduction. Okay, yeah, that's all right. I was thinking that we would have to define that it was water only, not sewer, but water rate reduction will get it. All right, any other questions on page 10 for
It
Any of
says
you
we have
folks?
to verify stuff, so those are final numbers according to the comment.
Yeah, okay. Bitty, page 10, any other stuff for page 10? Okay, moving on to page 11. I didn't have any questions on page 11. Any of you folks? Okay. Page 12, I didn't have any comments on. Any of you folks? Okay. On page 13, I just added a little note that says, thanks to Mr. Cafiso, Mr. Reeder, to Joe, and to Robert for getting all those estimated assessments by neighborhood. That is going to be excellent for the citizen in the town to be able to see how is my neighborhood affected. That'll really help. Pardon me? Oh, Jen Maisie too. All right. Okay. We're broadcasting live. I don't know if she's still there, but anyway. All right. Page 14. I did not have any questions on. Did you folks have questions on page 14? Did you have something, Mr. Smith?
I just wanted to call council's attention, page 13 and 14 on the handout have additional language that was added in grade in, and I just wanted to make sure you were aware that was probably not in the council packet draft that you received.
That's correct. That's correct. Yeah, well, I was going fast enough. I didn't see all this shading here. Estimated effective geo bond approval.
If the mayor would, on just before the chart of all those monthly costs for the neighborhoods, we tried to include a paragraph that explained what that chart was about.
Okay.
And defined the column numbers so that people would understand how those numbers came about.
Okay. Good enough. I'm just trying to read through it here real quickly. Should the GO bond pass and rate increases freeze as expected? Excellent.
After the go bond tax, so it actually may be more.
Yeah.
They pay the tax plus, then they save. So in Highlands Ranch, $13 a month savings. And
Yeah,
how much is
yeah.
the tax? So they're actually gonna save less than $2 a month. But
Okay.
for some of them, they won't save anything.
Yeah. Okay. Cool enough.
I save $11. I'm happy. I'm looking at Chino Meadows. They make some good money.
Oh yeah, Chino Meadows will really benefit from this, which is good. The lady here a couple of weeks back that brought up the thought that Chino Meadows has basically carried the cost to this all these years. At least they get a break if the bond passes. Okay, any questions on page 15? I had a question on page 15 of the original, which was talking about estimated issuance costs. Estimated issuance costs, yeah. Oh, should the bonds be authorized and issued, the town estimates the cost of issuance of the bonds will be approximately $150,000 per sale. Do we have any idea how many sales will take place? 2 sales. Okay. So you sat here this whole meeting just so you could do that. Okay. Little Richard Nixon action. All right, excellent. Cool. Moving on to page 16. And that shows the citizens what the cost of the interest is, 13.5 million versus 18 plus. Okay, and it's good that it's bolded down at the bottom of page 16, estimated total cost, including principal and
still
interest is
haven't gotten
18,233. What's that, ma'am?
That's next page.
Oh, okay. Yeah, on page 16, I'm glad that they made that bold lettering at the bottom of page 16 on the total bond issuance cost. Okay,
Mayor, if I could jump in, the assumption here is a 2.9% interest rate for X number of years. It doesn't include the actual interest cost or any principal forgiveness. If we're able to, well, actually, we won't get those details until mid-August when we sit with this board. So- I'm so sorry. So we won't be able to do better than this, but with a better interest rate and some principal forgiveness, these numbers could be tighter.
cool.
That'll have to get out in another mechanism because it won't be.
Right, right. Yeah, we're hopefully going to be able to give even better news. All right. But this, with the info that we have, this is the best we can go forward with. Okay, moving to page 17, I believe Ms. Hatch had a question.
Oh, we still don't have the appear in person. I guess we still haven't found out what, because remember before it said appear here, and I couldn't see our poor staff having to deal with it when they showed up. We still don't have that information yet.
We do have a voter, we have a voter box here.
You have the box, yeah, but it says they can show up in person and demand a ballot. And that means they're going to have to check and make sure they're a registered voter.
They can do that.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
We will have the polling location information in there. It's left blank here, but we will.
Okay, excellent. If it's something we already do, then let's not
Then we're
change it.
fine.
All right. Okay. We are pretty much done with that. If there's no further questions, we can move to the second part of our study session.
Mayor Marley, we'll have these edits made and through Mr. Cathiso as quickly as possible.
Good.
And we will get them back in your hands as soon as we possibly can.
All right, thank you much. Appreciate it.
Is this any different than what we were submitted, the one you handed out? Is this any different than what we were given on, in the packet?
Yeah, this here is the same as what,
I apologize for the paper bomb. The version I got was the second version tonight.
Uh-huh.
It did not have the general plan information, it matches only the bond issue.
we
Please step up to the mic.
we had in our mailboxes what appears to be the same item.
Yes.
Which was handed out to us, and it is that's good.
My apologies, but the
Oh.
version I got, like I said, I got today's last-minute version of the bond language, and my stuff was not attached, which
Okay,
caused heart failure
okay.
and lots of printing.
It doesn't cause us heart failure if we have the same thing that
Yes.
gets handed out. That's a good thing. Okay. Did anyone have any questions regarding our general plan wording on, that would be in your original packet of page 26, the why update the existing general plan? Any questions? No? Okay. The second page, who uses the general plan and how? I thought that was pretty self-explanatory, pretty clear. The third page, water resources and environment element, addresses available surface water. There's really not any, but that's okay. That's it does talk about our goal to try and encourage those sustainable water resources. Any questions on the last page, I like that was added in, what if the voters do not approve the Chino Valley General Plan 2014? It lets them know that the current plan remains in effect until a new plan is ratified, so.
Wait,
Fine document.
Yeah, I think it's,
a certain population, we must be over the population then, right? Because in Dewey Humboldt, they were under, and even if they didn't vote it in, it still went into effect. So we must be over the amount, huh?
okay.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a level at which, even if, and they voted it down like 3 times in Dewey Humboldt, and yet it's still in effect because that's the law. It's a size limitation.
Yeah, I'll be darned. I
It's just
just,
too big.
the corners of my mouth turn up when
Really?
I think of the people expressing their thoughts, and it still happens the other way, so.
It'd be a
All right.
1,000 magic number.
And if there's no further questions on the general plan,
Move to
Ms.
adjourn.
Ms. Mayday, do you have any info that you wanted to bring us up to speed on? Cool. Well, the chair would entertain.
Move to adjourn.
So you're a little slow. They already did
I
it.
moved. Second.
Okay, second and third. All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you for your
Aye.
attendance.